the break room channel, and then you should be able to see a PowerPoint that has Regiment Combat Basics Training Course. Do you guys see it on your phone? Is Diddy in the Discord? No, so I'm gonna be talking in game chats if that is better for you guys. Okay, okay, perfect. So yeah, can somebody share the Discord link on the chat so we can get Didi into Discord and Rusty? Or is there Rusty in the Discord? Oh, okay, okay, okay. So here we go. Everybody sees the presentation, right? So the Okay, great. So the duration of this course is approximately about 2 hours or less. We're trying to make it as concise as possible. So it's going to cover the basics, combat basics, things that you guys already probably know how to do, or things that you guys have not yet learned, right? Especially if you've been playing this game for, I don't know, a couple of days, or maybe you've been playing this game for a couple of weeks. And sometimes when you're going through this learning curve and trying to understand like more how the game actually works, sometimes if you're kind of going by yourself and you're playing games by yourself, there's a learning curve and it usually takes longer. But then there's also if you've got a team, if you've got a Discord that you play with, and we provide these trainings for you, then it's much easier for you to pick up on stuff and learn stuff because we all are working together towards a common goal, right? And usually that goal involves doing actions and things that are going to help you win the match. So, um, next is what are you guys going to be going through today? It's going to be, if you look at the presentation, it is to navigate using map grids and compass bearings to reach objectives, communicate clearly over radio channels, things that you guys should definitely be understanding more of, following squad and platoon protocols, managing personal and team equipment, as well as your gear, your inventory, engaging targets, shooting range, grenades, coordinating with your squad, medical as well. We're going to be covering medical vehicles, repairs, um, and overall, after we're done with this, we're going to be going into an actual short mission. Okay? So that's first and foremost. So, short mission. And here's one key thing about, if you guys are looking at the presentation, I highly recommend you look at the presentation, is the importance of teamwork, right? So, in a game, conflict, right? We jump into a conflict game, and we have a hierarchical structure of how orders are given out, right? Lately, we have not been doing that because we need squad leaders and team leaders. So, I'm going to ask you guys questions, okay? So, if we're in the game, we're in a conflict match, and there is a team lead, we have two team leads and one squad lead, right? If I'm not around to give direction or strategy or orders, then who will it fall on to provide to take charge? Any clue? So I'm the commander, and then yeah, it would technically correct fall to the general. Unfortunately, we don't have generals and we don't have platoon leaders, so then it would fall on squad leader. Correct. So squad leaders here are Jeb. We've got Kenny. If you guys don't know who the squad leaders are, you can go to the Discord. You can look up who the squad leaders are, and you'll see their names on there. Like there's going to be a role. Every person here has a role, or is supposed to have a role on Discord. Okay. If you see that the role is squad leader, sorry, then that person will be the one that's going to give direction to who? That person will give direction to the team lead, right? And then the team lead will give direction to the squad members. And then the squad members are part of the squad, but also you have the community members. So if you're not in a squad, and you would like to cooperate. It's not like we're bossing you around. If you're a community member, we're not going to boss you around. Like, if you want to work with us and that's the reason why you joined, cool, great. Follow orders, right? But if you don't want to be part of a squad, you just want to play and you want to do on your own thing, but you also want to play with us, that's fine. But we would like to have everybody coordinated and everybody working together and everybody actually trying to win the game simultaneously, right? So the structure is very common. Commander, general, platoon leader, squad leader, and then squad member. And then it falls to the bottom, which is the community member. Okay? So, simple as that. If you have a squad leader, that squad leader will give orders to the team leaders, right? And you have, maybe that squad has 1 or 2 different team leads, and so you have to make sure that your team leaders are, if you're a squad leader, you have to make sure that your team leaders have direction in the conflict match. So, if you decide to split up, or if you decide that all of you guys are going to be rolling together, right? That's going to be one thing. So we do have a structure. Let's follow the structure, and it's based upon that, right? Top to bottom, hierarchical military structure, and that's what we're going to follow because that's the most effective way to actually carry out and execute missions. So squad movement. What typically happens when you're in a squad and you guys are rolling together, and then 3 of you guys die, and you still have, like, let's say it's a 6-man squad, right? And then you have 3 people that die. What normally happens? What is the one thing that happens that you normally see that based on your observations? Correct. So how do we solve that? Okay. So Esso highlighted a point, right? Mordecai shared his point. So what typically happens is that you guys just disperse. And then somebody spawns up in the north, another person spawns at St. Pierre, another person spawns at Chotain, and then everybody just gets separated, and then we just all lose track. Okay? So, the structure should be that you should spawn on the radio operator, or you try to link up with your squad again. Does that make sense? Yes? Not necessarily. So right. So if there's no radio operator, then you spawn at the closest base, at the closest location to where you can make it back to your squad, right? Because in theory, your squad leader should have, total control of the squad, or at least knows where his guys are. So the squad leader, in theory, should be saying, let's say Esso and Drifty are, they spawn somewhere else. The squad leader should say, Drifty, Esso, where are you guys at? And are you guys going to make it back so that we can all link up again? So that way we're not getting separated. Right? So that's what a squad leader should do. If you guys don't receive that from your squad lead, but you still want to maintain the structure, then you should spawn at the nearest base. So that way you can grab a vehicle, or you can make your way back to the point of attack or the point of operation. Make sense? Anyone disagree with it? Okay, great. So you do have several movement techniques, and I don't want to spend a long time on this, but we do have the overwatch. Make sure that when you're getting together, you have individuals providing overwatch, especially if you have a vehicle. Clear callouts. If you're doing callouts, use directions, right? So north, east, south, west. Enemies to the north, enemies to the northwest, enemies to the southeast. And we're going to be covering that soon. But you should definitely call out enemies. Don't stay quiet about it. People aren't going to read your mind. And I think that's something that you guys need to really consider when you're in a game, you're in a conflict match, and you have a situation where you have to call out these guys, especially if they're, you got friendlies getting killed, and the whole attack is going to fail if you're not actively calling out enemies, right? If you're calling out enemies on a squad channel, great. If you have if you notice that there's other squads within your vicinity, then you call out enemies on the platoon channel, right? If you have any, go ahead. Oh, if you have any other input that you would like to provide, then you guys are welcome to share as well, right? There's something that maybe I'm not covering, you guys can cover it as well.
Squad, stop.
So, really quickly, we also have reading the map and compass. You guys know about you guys know how to use grids?
On me. Let's go.
Okay. So you guys know you got a grid. You look at your map.
Defensive perimeter. One medic. We need a medic here.
Hey. Right. So, but you can actually zoom in. You can zoom in, right? Right. So you can zoom in. You've also got the map legends. You got map markers, and you also have military symbols. Does everyone know how to use military symbols?
Squad, go
okay.
over there.
Hold up.
Yes. Okay. Markers, symbols. We're not familiar with those, right? It depends on which console you're in. Okay. Yeah, so it depends on specific military symbol, but it also depends on, like where, like it depends on how you're going to, if you're going to use the markers or if you're going to use the symbols, right? So, if you don't know how to use them, then I think it's Esso, right? Esso, Vince. Okay, Esso, Vince, you guys are not familiar with it, right? Okay. Okay, so, let me see. So I see you place something, Vince, yes. So that's good. So you know how to put that down. There's also other symbols that you can use as well, like the arrows. Yeah, so there's the commanding, and then there's the markers, right? The markers are typically, actually no, it's the markers. The military marker and then custom markers. If you put custom markers, you can put arrows, general, maneuvers, and you can add those. You can add a flag. If you are trying to, let's say, highlight the enemy, if we're looking for the MOB, enemy MOB, you can use those symbols, right? You can use the markers to highlight MOBs. If you are under attack, let's say from an armored vehicle, then you can use the marker so that you can mark it on the map for, let's say, if we're getting air support, then the air support knows where to hit based upon the target location on the map as well, right? So we need to start using more military symbols and more markers as well. Okay. So we have the grid marker. So on the grid marker system, I'm not going to go through all of it, but the reading coordinates is easting, which is the vertical lines on the map, right? If you look at the vertical lines on the map, those are your eastings. Your northings are the horizontal lines on the map. So in the map grid coordinates, eastings are your vertical lines, which are read first. So you always want to read first the vertical lines if you're trying to provide grid coordinates, right? So you go first on the vertical, followed by the horizontal lines, which is the north links. So for example, if we're trying to say grid, right, you zoom in, grid 066, 061, which means easting 066 and northing 061. So once you know where to look, and we're gonna cover that once we get to the land nap course, because we got a land nap course, and we'll give you guys coordinates, and then you're gonna have to look. We're gonna give you the coordinates as they are here, and then uh, you're going to actually look for those things that we put on the map that are at a particular coordinates. We're not gonna mark them on the map for you. We're just gonna give you the coordinates, and then you're gonna have to go look for them. Okay. So the easting numbers red are red first, left or right, right? Northing numbers are red second, top to bottom, right? If you're not really sure once you're doing the NAPLAN course, then let us know, and we'll help you out. But the point is for you to understand how this works, right? And we're going to go over the practice. You also have tools like a compass. If you're not sure yet, you can pull out your map, and if you're looking at the map at the top left, you'll see that there is one for objectives. There's another one that's a rule, the ruler, and I think it's called the what's it called again, Jeb? The radian, the outer radian, the inner radian degree. Yes, but what's the ruler called? Is it just called a ruler? Yeah. Yes, your protractor. Yes, that. So, so we don't have to use it because we're not really like working with mortars. But you have a protractor. You have the. You also have your compass, right? If you know how to pull that up, your compass is there. If you're not really sure where you're at, you can always pull up your compass and your map at the same time, right? You also have a watch. And you've got a pencil that you can mark stuff. But the stuff that's on the pencil, you can't share it with other people. That you could only see your own pencil markings. Correct. So what typically helps me is making sure I'm using the map and using the compass at the same time. That typically works very well. So be conscious of that, and military symbols. If you find a command truck, you can always, mark it. There's on military symbols that you put down, it'll give you the option to mark down either infantry, air, command trucks. It'll give you several options. An actual base. When you're actually putting down the military markers, it'll give you options for you to select to put down on the map. The map legends, you guys are pretty familiar with this. You'll see that there's, when you look at cavalry, it's got a cross. The airport's got a plane. So that way you understand more, if you're moving into a location, you know exactly what you're going to be expecting to, whether you're going to be expecting a graveyard, a chapel, a church. If there's a gas station nearby, sometimes those are actually marked on the map already. So that way you know that if you can't get to the gas station, you can always stop at a gas station that's on the main road rather than an actual base. Okay, so using the compass, you have to understand the azimuths or the degrees and how they correlate to your direction. So obviously when you pull out your compass, you've got the main line, which is with the arrow pointing north. So that's always going to be your north side. You've got west, east, and south. And then around it, you're going to see a ring, which are going to be your degrees, right? Your azimuths degrees. And so it depends on the situation that you're in and depends on the context, but you can share the degrees. So if you see an enemy at a particular location, you can always say, enemy located at 60 degrees north to the northwest, right? You can give out the direction. Plus, the degree so that everybody can look that's in your squad can look at that direction and provide proper support, right? Um, so that helps out. If you are in a town, right? Let's say we're at province, right? And you know you're at province, and you pull out your map, you pull out your compass, and if you're looking at your compass, like within your map, and if you're not really sure on which direction you're looking at or which direction you're hearing shots, or you know there's an enemy in a particular direction, you can always pull out your map along with your compass if you don't really know where you're at, right? And that helps you out a lot, especially if you know if you're taking fire from the north, then you can just simply call it out, right? Enemies firing from the north. We have enemies north of province, enemies south of province, enemies east of province, enemies west of province. So you always want to provide some kind of direction when you're calling out targets in a particular location or wherever you're at, right? Especially if you're in a base. So we're going to cover radio communication now, which is using radio communications efficiently, squad channels, and radio range. So how can we efficiently and optimally use our radios in conflict? Anyone? Correct. That's good. Anybody else? Okay. So how should we like what should our messages be? Should they be you know, just casual conversation? Correct. Short, clear, and to the point. So typically we want to have it that way. Sometimes it doesn't because we're going to have randoms in a match, right? And when we have randoms, there's usually like kind of just nonsense going on. But with us being in a Discord and we know what we're supposed to be, we should know what we're doing, then our communication should be, especially if it's a serious match and we know like, okay, maybe there's another Discord on the other side and we're trying to kick their ass. Let's all communicate, let's all get on our A game, and let's all kick ass, right? And this is the best way to do it, to keep our messages simple, clear, short, and to the point. And also, one of the things that I encourage everybody to do is copy, right? It's like, especially if you're a squad leader, if you're done with an objective, you should call it out. Say, this is Lux, or this is, this is Pale Horse, or this is Last Resort. We just took over X objective, and we're going here, or we're going to, and we're going from Indiana to Ohio, right? Ohio's our next objective, and you call it out so that way everybody knows, right? You might not want to call out the actual location, like Province or Vigari or any of those places. You want to be use the code name, but also let everybody know that's in the regiment that you're going from this location to that location. Simple as that. And if you're not, yes, if you're not sure on what your next move should be, then you call it out on the radio and say, this is Last Resort. I would, Warlord, what should our next objective be, or what should our next, point be to go to, and I will give you the direction, right? But if you know what you're doing, and if the initial instructions were giving out at the beginning to where you're supposed to go here, then, if something changes, if there's variables in place, then we can communicate that. But other than that, squad leaders should be in constant communication with the commander, or the platoon lead, or the general, and then squad members should be in constant communication with the squad leaders and the team leads. We understand that, right? So, squad channels, each squad has a frequency, we understand. Everybody knows this, right? Okay. So if you're a squad member and you're trying to uh, communicate with your squad only, should you use the platoon channel or the specific squad channel? Squad channel. Thank you. So definitely not the platoon. You want to use the squad channel because that is going to, you know, obviously communicate with the people within your squad, and that way we can keep the comms clear, right? We can keep the platoon channel clear. So if you're not sure, you can always open the squad menu to know the frequency if you don't know which frequency you're at, and that way you'll know where to change it. Most of the time when you switch squads, it automatically switches your frequency to that particular squad channel, right? And platoon channel, important stuff. So we also have, here's another one. Radio range. If you are away from radio towers during conflict mode, you will not be able to communicate with your team. So use chat to communicate if out of range, right? So if you're out of range, if you're out of radio range and you hear me asking for a status update on each of the squad leads, and you cannot communicate because you're out of radio range, then what should you do? That's one option. Faction chat. Who's that? Okay, kick him out. No, that's perfect. Yeah, we're looking for people that actually want to be part of something like this. Yeah. So use faction. Correct. Faction or Discord. I would highly recommend faction because sometimes I'm not looking at my computer. I'm not looking at my Discord, right? So just go to the faction and then just communicate what you have to communicate, right? Provide the status update. It's very important that we all provide status updates when we're actually in conflict, right? If you go into a game and there's 20 regiment members but none of them are communicating, that's a fucking problem. It's a big problem. So, if a squad lead is not taking charge, cough, cough, Kenny, Jeb, or a team lead, right? If we have multiple squad leaders, they should be taking charge, right?
Over there.
If your squad member and your team lead and your squad lead are not there, link up with someone else. Right? Link up with another regiment member.
There.
If your squad lead and team leads are not there, but you have, let's say, 2 or 3 of you guys that are part of the same squad in the Discord, then link up with another squad that is incomplete, so that way you guys can work together. Right? You got to learn how to work with other squads, even if you're not, you're not part of the same squad on the Discord. All right. Just want to make sure I highlight that because a lot of people forget about that. So inventory. Did you guys know that you can pick up items around your vicinity if you pull up your inventory? Everybody aware of that? Yes. Correct. You don't necessarily, like, for example, sometimes you have a, like you have an arsenal. Like, you know how you have the arsenal and then sometimes you're in the line of fire or your base is getting attacked, and you can't directly get in front of the arsenal, but you can get next to it, to where you're not visible or standing right in front of it as a major target. You can actually lay down next to or in cover around, very close, but around the arsenal, and you can actually edit or take stuff from the arsenal itself using the inventory. Okay. Okay. Do you know how to put on the silencer on the from directly from the inventory to your weapon? Okay. So yeah. So you go to the weapon. You once you're at the weapon, it should say something like, uh, hold on. You gotta equip it first, and then once you're looking at the square, like once you highlight the square over the weapon, you hold the open or view, new view, right? Once you see that, you'll go to the muzzle flash hider, and then you drop it, and it drops it into your backpack, or it drops it into your uh, blouse or your pants, and then you go to the silencer. If you have a silencer, if you have a suppressor, you grab it, and then you put it like you literally just like how you took it off. You'll just go to the weapon, and then you'll hit the button to move it to it, which is the suppressor or the flash hider, right? And then you put it back on. Okay, and you do that with the suppressor. You can do that with the sights. You can do that with the scopes. You can do that with scopes. Sometimes what I do is that, for example, if I have an AK, and if I don't want to use the if I don't want to use the magazine that it already comes with, then I'll go to the same thing. I'll remove the magazine, and it'll put it in my inventory, and then I'll put that same magazine back into the arsenal, and then I'll grab the 45 round mags, and then I'll just reload automatically. Right? So you can get rid of stuff. It's much better. And if you're injured, did you guys know you can use your inventory to heal yourself? Directly from your inventory. Okay. Okay. Go ahead. Oh yeah, that's true. I think you killed Telesto that one time. Yep. Uh, on the inventory, you can do the same as well on dead enemies,
Over
right?
there.
If you know, like if you see a dead enemy on the ground, you can actually use the same thing. You can pull up the inventory, and then if you're looking at the screen, you can actually see what you can grab from them. And if you want to look, instead of like you actually taking the pants and put them in your backpack, you can actually go into the particular piece of clothing itself, and then open view, and it should let you see what they're equipping, like what they currently have, and then you can take stuff directly from there. Everybody knows how to do this, right? Yes. Perfect. All right, so this is why it's basics. We're gonna go through a shooting course, but shooting. We're gonna go through shooting, but once we get to that part, I would like for you guys to understand that if you're not sure, because there's a lot of team killing that happens sometimes by accident, but if you're not really sure, if in doubt, pull out your binoculars. If in doubt, pull out your binocs. So that way you don't end up... Yeah, get the closest look you can. Sometimes their names don't pop up. Yes, and just pull out your binocs, and you should be able to see them much better, and that way prevents a lot of team killing. We're also going to go through a grenades course as well. We're going to go through a little micro course practice throwing grenades. After throwing a grenade, you have up to 4 seconds before it detonates. Did you know that you can put the pin back on the grenade if you want to cancel throwing it? Now, next box you press X. I'm not sure on about any other. Oh shoot, bro! Get away! Get away! Get away! Get away! Get away! Get away! Look at Drifty, bro. Oh no. Yeah. Somebody look after Drifty. I don't know if he's hurt or not. He's just standing there. He's right there. Yeah. So, you guys see that? So you put the pin back in case you're trying to cancel, right? We're gonna fuck with grenades here in a minute. Everybody come back. Everybody come back. Everybody come back. We're almost done. We're almost done with this. Hey. So, first, also, alright, for repin, yeah. So, medical aid and first aid. Best practices. If you see a teammate that's down, always deploy smokes when healing and friendly. That provides concealment. A lot of smokes provides concealment. It provides smoke so that you guys can attend, a friendly if he's on the ground, right? Now, this is not always going to work. It's going to always be dependent upon the circumstance or the type of situation that you're in. But never begin the process when you know there's enemies nearby, because you're going to get killed. And that's pretty obvious, right? You're going to get killed if you, immediately after your friend gets down, you start going to attend him and you're still under fire, and you're just going to get yourself killed, and it's just not going to be good, right? It's going to be stupid. That's a stupid thing you don't want to do. So never begin the process of applying first aid if you're under fire. What do you guys think about this? Do you guys know why you should use a tourniquet? Like, what if you were to if you were to start a bleed? Correct. Correct. But why? Correct. Temporarily stops the bleed. If you tourniquet a leg, you're not going to be able to walk. You can walk, but you're not going to be walking as fast. It's going to be real slow. Tourniquet, you should apply the tourniquet if you are under fire and you're exposed and you don't have time to apply the bandage. Okay? You apply the bandage if you have concealment, if you're behind cover, if you know your surroundings and you're not going to get shot or killed. Then you apply the bandage. Or after the area has been cleared out and you know the threats are dead. You cannot bandage yourself. You cannot apply a tourniquet on your chest or on your head. Although sometimes I would like to apply a tourniquet on Jeb, on his throat. But yeah, well, so basically that's very important, right? So tourniquet first, and then tourniquets first, and then bandage. Simple as that. Everybody gets it, right? Yes. Okay. Good. See. Oh, because you're probably updated. Yeah. Yeah, if you're on Legacy, then yeah. The fuck? So, morphine helps you recover faster. Okay? You apply plenty of morphine, you're going to recover a lot faster. Okay. Any questions so far before we go into the actual course and practice? Ready? Everybody ready? Okay. Then Jeb, you're clear to take it away. Everybody follow Jeb.